Okay, Breaking Bad, the finale. What to say? I figured I would just make a fairly quick video by my Breaking Bad video standards and just talk about my thoughts on the final episode of Breaking Bad that aired last night. There will be a Breaking Down Breaking Bad installment, full in-depth review of this episode at a later date. It might even be in a few months. I want to wait for like the Insider podcast to come out, you know, the commentary on the DVD, and just get loads of facts about the end and the final episode and all the thoughts that went into that episode, and comment on that in my full in-depth review. So, you know, I figured there's going to be so many reviews of this anyway, and I'm not going to try and jump in there and get in there quick. I just want to make a quick video talking about it, because I would have liked to have filmed a reactions video, much like I did with Ozymandias, as I watched it live. This one, I had to watch it live, just had to. My friend Alex McConnell, he flew over to Norway here just to visit for a weekend, and it just happened to be the weekend that the final of Breaking Bad was happening. He's a big fan of the show too. Well, I say it just happened to be. I said to him, you should come this weekend because it'd be awesome to watch it together. And it was great, but Connie, she just came back from a trip basically a few hours before the show was starting, and so she went to bed, and we had to have the lights off, so because the kind of bed is in the same room in this place, open plan kind of thing. So yeah, there was no way to set the camera up without just looking terrible. But it would have been really fun to see, because I don't think I've ever seen Alex that kind of invested in watching something, because he was just like leaning forward and just like, he's usually quite, I don't know, reserved and stuff when watching things. But yeah, he was really into it. I was really just like, enthralled with the whole thing, and just stressed out the whole time that, you know, was everything going to get wrapped up in the time that they had. Of course, it was a longer episode, just like Granite State. The episode title was Felina, and I'll go over it again in my in-depth review. But you know, Felina is an anagram of finale, and it's also Fe, iron, the chemical symbol for iron. Li is the chemical symbol for sodium, and Na is the what was it, lithium? Lithium, and Na is the one for sodium, I think. And it kind of what's contained in those elements is blood, meth, and tears, which is what we saw in this show, in this episode, and what we have seen indeed throughout the whole 5 seasons of the show. Again, I almost feel like going in depth into this, but you know, it opened with Walt and continued from where we left off in the Granite State episode with him escaping, and we kind of learned that he was going to go after Grey Matter, Elliot and Gretchen Schwartz, and that for me was like, whoa. Because on the Insider podcast for Granite State, they said that they only had like 30 minutes, a very short window to film the scene with Gretchen and Elliot on the Charlie Rose show. I assumed that meant that they wouldn't be able to get those guys back for any more filming, so I figured that was it, and him seeing that news broadcast would simply just a way for him to know that the blue meth was still around, and just to light a fire under his ass. But he went to Grey Matter, and it kind of it was just such a tense scene, you know, and it just that moment where he kind of shuts the massive overindulgent front doors, was just like, me and Alex were like, oh my god, what's he gonna do? He's just gonna go mental and kill them, or you know, anything's fair game at this point. But it was a very smart thing where he actually dumped, you know, almost $10 million on them as a way to give it to Walt Jr., his son, on his 18th birthday, which is in 10 months' time. And it was a very genius way of kind of ensuring that his son, his family, would get the money, which was kind of just like the main driving force of the past 3 episodes. He just wants his family to have all this money, and for it to have not been all for nothing. And so he found out a way, because of course Elliot and Gretchen, you know, they're billionaires. They just donated $28 million to some, you know, meth charity, you know, people recovering, I guess, something like that. So, you know, setting up a trust for $9 million doesn't seem so conspicuous. Very, very cool scene. Just so tense, you know. One of my favourite moments is when Elliot kind of got this little bread knife out, and Walt's just kind of almost exasperated, saying, if we're going to go that route, you're going to need a bigger knife. He's so kind of frail and weak at this point, but he's just like still totally in control and just doesn't give a fuck, you know. It was really cool to see Walt just almost completely calm and collected Although we did see at the beginning of the episode, he was very kind of, I think he was just saying to himself, just get me out of this, just get me home and I'll do the rest, kind of thing. Just willing himself on to the final hurdle, and we just get this sense that he knows that there's an impending doom for him. And of course we go back and we see him with the flash forwards that we saw at the beginning of episode 1 and episode 8 and 9, sorry, and we see that all come together. We see him meet Lydia and Todd in the cafe, which is hilarious. Just the way he kind of walked up to them, and we were like, oh god, and then he just kind of sits down and we're like, what is he doing? Oh my god. Skinny Pete and Badger getting a kind of a cameo almost was absolutely hilarious. As the hitmen was brilliant. It was a stroke of genius. I loved it. It was just really funny and a nice just a nice kind of rounding off for those two characters who I've really enjoyed throughout the whole run of the show. Great to see them again. It was really funny as well. And you know, we saw this nice scene of Jesse with his the box he was building. The chest that he kind of mentioned in his group therapy back in season 4, I think, or season 3. So it was cool to see that and kind of juxtaposed with him kind of getting his apron caught in the workshop and actually getting his chains caught in the meth lab. We now see his hair's grown, and it's been many months, you know, since we last saw him within the context of the show. You know, and just horrible to see him in that kind of state, just looking really, just totally lost and, you know, no hope left for him, kind of thing, within his own mind anyway. And then we see Walt, you know, kind of set up the gun. He's got this big M60, and he's setting up some kind of device out in the desert. And it's kind of what Jesse was saying in season 2. You're gonna build a robot, which is essentially what he did. He built a kind of robotic mechanical arm somehow to put the gun on. But before we get to that, we saw this really great scene with Skylar, where she's in this new place, and Marie phones her to tell that Walt's been spotted around town, and then we see the reveal that Walt's been standing in the kitchen the whole time, and she gives him 5 minutes to kind of say what he wants to say his piece. And it was a really great scene, very emotional, and just brilliant, because for the first time ever, really, well, not ever, but for the first time in a long time, Walt just told Skylar the truth, absolutely 100%. He says all the things that I've done, and she's like, don't tell me that you're doing it all for us. And he's like, no, I did it for me. I liked it. You know, I was good at it. And he just for once admitted that, and you could tell, as hard as it was for her to hear, it was almost like a kind of just a big sigh of relief almost, and just a release that she'd been told the truth and that it was really over, you know, and he was going, and she'd never see him again. Very sad, you know. It's kind of this thing where you kind of feel that obviously there's still some love there between each other, but it's just gone past the point where it's just what's the word? It's you can't repair it. There's a word for it, but you know, it's broken, you know. And he asks her if he can see Holly one more time, and he kind of strokes Holly's head, and then just kind of leaves, and there's no other words, and it's just kind of very poignant and sad, for sure. Very depressing, but fitting, I think. And he gets to kind of sneak a look at Walt Jr. as he comes home, but he doesn't say anything to him, and he walks off into the distance. And then that's when the end game comes, and he turns up at the Nazi kind of camp, the Aryan Brotherhood, and parks his car in just the right spot, and goes in to see Uncle Jack, and that's when all the shit went down. Okay, I had to edit the video there, but I was talking about the final confrontation between Walt with all the Jack's men, and of course Walt's ploy didn't really work. He was kind of in a bit of a tough spot there, but he kind of got what he wanted at the end of the day when they brought Jesse in, and he found out Jesse was actually being enslaved by them, and that's when Walt, I think, decided to save Jesse from the situation. Kind of dove on him, hit the button. He had his little M60 rigged up outside, and they just took them all out. It was crazy and awesome. Todd managed to miss, or he managed to get out of the way of any of the bullets. And as he was looking outside to see what had caused it, that's when Jesse got his chain that was tying his hands, and choked him out. Wasn't a quick death. It was a very hard fought struggle, and after watching that, I'm just at a loss for kind of putting sentences together in a proper way, in a coherent fashion. So yeah, he got to kill Todd, and that was brilliant. It was good to see, and Jesse really relished that. You could tell after what he did to Andrea, particularly. And there wasn't a doubt in my mind that Jesse was going to survive, because after everything he'd been put through since Ozymandias, Jesse had to survive through all that. But the show still kept you guessing. We had that great moment with Jack, who had been shot up, but he was still alive, and he thought, oh, I've got an ace in the hole here. He picked up his cigarette. He's like, well, you want to know where the rest of your money is? Well, just shoots him in the face. Absolutely brilliant. One of my favourite moments of the whole series, where he just shoots Jack's head off straight. It was, he almost could have said, Jack, go fuck yourself, or Jack already made up my mind 10 minutes ago, but no, he just blew, mid-sentence, just blew his brains out, and just awesome. And then of course he turns around to Jesse, and for a second then my heart actually skipped a beat, and I thought he was raising the gun towards Jesse, but he was actually lowering it, and he kicked it towards Jesse, and was just really just like, do what you want, if you want your revenge on me, I fully accept the consequences, and here we go. And it's kind of what he was doing in Rabid Dog. Was it Rabid Dog? Where he was going to meet Jesse after Jesse had found out about the ricin, and he was out in that public place, and he was sitting down. And he was there on his own. He didn't have any backup. He was there to accept the consequences. And this is kind of similar. We're at the end game now. It's all been done, and the money's tied up. That's going to go to his kids. If Walt Jr. accepts it, it's there. It hasn't all been for nothing. He said goodbye to his wife, to his daughter, and killed all the people who had really fucked things up more than he already had done himself. It all comes back down to him, really. It's all his fault, but he had to get Uncle Jack back for that, for the murdering of Hank. Also, yeah, we saw that he gave Skylar the lottery ticket with the GPS numbers on them. I was like, what's the significance of this? And I thought, oh god, yeah, of course, it's where they were buried. So they're going to get, Skylar and Marie particularly are going to get some closure with a proper funeral for Hank. Even though it's been months and stuff, they actually can find out where their bodies are buried. Hank and Gomi. So yes, Jesse's got the gun, and he says, say the word, just say you want me to do this. And Walt says, I want this. But Jesse doesn't do it because he's free, he's got a shot here to get out and just start his life over, and he doesn't want to start that with a murder. He doesn't want to, go on as he's been going on, and start fresh, and no more killing and no more doing things for other people. So he doesn't do it and leaves, and that's that. And that's when Todd's phone rings. Walt picks it up. It's Lydia, and she's ill. And the ricin. We saw that scene, and we were looking for a sign of him putting the ricin in the tea, but he didn't. And then of course it was like this, what's the word? Top-down, aerial view of the tea as she puts the sugar sweetener in. And of course he put the ricin inside that packet somehow, which is just crazy, but brilliant, because he knew exactly where she was going to sit and what she was going to use, because she's very kind of scheduled, and that was what she did when she used to meet up with him, so it was perfect. And so it was kind of a funny moment actually when he's on the phone to Lydia. He's like, oh hey Lydia, you're about to die soon, see ya. Hangs up, and then Jesse kind of turns back to Walt, and I don't know, kind of the soppy person in me kind of wanted him to just go, I always loved you, I loved you like a son. But it was beyond that. Again, their relationship was broken, but there was that tiny moment, that really subtle moment where it wasn't even that, it was just the slightest inclination of both their heads where they kind of nodded at each other, and that was that. And Jesse had noticed that Walt had already been shot anyway. He had a wound on his side. Jesse leaves, and he's literally just laughing and crying with just happiness and just a great moment, and then it just cuts to Walt's face, and he wanders back into the lab, and that's where it all ends. And it's like he was saying to Skylar, he did it for himself, he liked it, he was good at it, and that was where he was truly happy, in the meth lab, where he was at his best with his Heisenberg alter ego. And that's what this kind of finale all boiled down to, was ego. That's where, you know, I think necessity and desperation drove Walt to do what he did in season 1, and as it grew on, as the show progressed, it became more about his ego than his family and necessity. Definitely by season 5, when he had a chance to walk away with 5 million, and wasn't enough for him. He wanted the empire, he wanted the credit, he wanted more than was ever possible to spend, and that was how it went down, and he had to pay the price for that, and he was dying anyway from the cancer. That's the thing with this finale, there was nothing really that could have been hugely spoiled. I think Ozymandias was the episode which was the biggest kind of spoiler territory. This one, you know, we all really knew Walt was going to die. I mean, surely we all knew that Jesse was going to survive, and of course Jack and his men were going to die. It was just inevitable. But as predictable as it was, I guess, it was still brilliant and executed perfectly. Very slow episode, very tense, you know, just brilliantly done. Great direction, great writing, great acting, goes without saying. And we had the really amazing song at the end, Baby Blue, that just kind of tied it all together, and it was just a perfect fitting end to the season. Bryan Cranston said on Talking Bad that he thinks the ending is very, it's not ambiguous, and it's unapologetic and in true Breaking Bad style, and that's exactly what it was. That brilliant shot where he kind of puts his hand on one of the meth kind of tanks, and we see his reflection just slowly slip away as he falls down, the blood on his hands and the police in the background, and you just tell he's just finally found a moment of peace. He's done what he always set out to do, to leave his family with more than enough to get on with after he's gone. Obviously this isn't exactly how he wanted it to all go down, but you know, he could die in peace where he was at his most happiest, and you know, it's kind of you know, touching. You know, at the same time, it's kind of, you know, he got what he deserved. It's interesting to see a lot of people online saying they were crying and they just can't get over it. Yeah, it's sad and it's depressing, but it's, you know, it's just amazing that they actually kept the quality of their show just building and building and building. It just kept getting better. It really did keep getting better. If you count season 5 as one season, without a doubt, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they just keep getting better and better and better, and it just ends at its highest, in my opinion. I think these last 8 episodes have been the pinnacle of the show, and which show can really say that they were amazing to begin with, and they just got better and better, and they just ended on a high, and it was perfect, and it just wrapped up. It's just better than anyone could ever expect. I think they did an amazing job, and that fantastic final shot, a true Breaking Bad shot, just a kind of aerial shot, just rising up for like what seemed like forever, and that brilliant song, and almost a smile on Walt's face and a tear rolling down his face as he's lying there dead. And yeah, brilliant, absolutely awesome. Now this video was supposed to be a quick review. I will go even more in depth, you can imagine that, at some point. I might even do it soon, I don't know, we'll see what happens, but I've got Michael Keaton month coming up, so every day for the next month you're going to see a video reviewing a Michael Keaton movie, so I'll see if I can squeeze something in there, because I feel like talking about it even more, and listening to the Insider podcast and giving you some more trivia and stuff, I guess. But thank you for watching this. I hope you enjoyed the finale of Breaking Bad. There will be a lot more Breaking Bad videos to come, actually, in the future, so look out for those. But for now, just awesome. Wish I could have done a reactions video, but I couldn't, obviously. I think I finally breathed out at the end of those credits. It was just like just a moment, you know. I looked at Alex and he just went. It's just like, yeah, that was awesome. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah, he's really cool, but he's not quite as cool as you, 'cause